It's time for Say What? On Sunday, Juju Smith-Schuster faced Jalen Ramsey, who's known for his trash talking. Now, after the game, Juju was asked about the matchup. Say what?
It was cool, man. He talks a lot. He talks so much. He said so many cuss words I've never heard of.
Curse words he's never heard of. I thought there was a pretty defined list of curse words.
Yeah. But I think when you mix and match and you play the little compound word game, I think you can come up with some real creative ways. I know this. I've got a 4-year-old, so she's picking and choosing now.
Oh, really?
Oh, is that what's happening?
She's coming up with things I've
little
never
baby
heard of.
Quinny curses like a sailor. You're
She is a dirty girl.
Wow.
Okay.
It's not. I didn't. That was too far. I went too far. Bring it back. Stories to start your morning.
Bring it back.
Sorry, Juju.
Come on.
Kawhi Leonard. Felt
What
terrible.
just happened?
I don't know. Kawhi Leonard taking on his former team last night. It was
8 in the morning.
The claw wasn't great. Finished just 2 of 11 from the field to go along with 9 turnovers, and yet the Clippers still somehow managed to get the win over Toronto. Nick, what'd you make of Kawhi's night?
Listen, really rough night for Kawhi, and credit to the Raptors, who in back-to-back nights have really forced the best player in the world, LeBron James, and the 3rd or 4th best player in the world, Kawhi Leonard, into wildly inefficient nights. LeBron was 5 of 15, Kawhi then 2 of 11. Kawhi was doing his best playmaking-wise with the 9 assists, but that went along with 9 turnovers. What happened to the Raptors is they ran out of gas.
Yep. They're
not load managing because they can't, because they got injuries, and they played back-to-back nights, and in the 4th quarter last night, they just could not hit a shot. Good win for the Clippers, despite Kawhi being so ineffective. Great defense in the 4th quarter by that team.
Yeah, if there was any team that was going to make somebody else other than Kawhi beat them, it was going to be the Toronto Raptors. They know how good he can be. Yep. Kawhi even talked about it. He said as soon as he crossed half court, they were throwing extra defenders at him. I mean, you knew what time it was going up against his former team. The Raptors were just shorthanded in the second night of a back-to-back going up against the Lakers and the Clippers. No Kyle Lowry, no Serge Ibaka, and it showed in the critical minutes in the 4th quarter.
And I don't know. OG got injured 2 minutes into the game. For 3 years, I can't say this.
OG Anunoby?
Anunoby.
There you go. You got it.
Goodness.
Get it out, Nick.
It's the only player in the league. Him and Chris Bosh. I can't say their names. Bosh is an easier one.
On to Monday Night Football. You're going to be able to say all these names.
OG Anunoby.
Russell Wilson and the Seahawks taking on the undefeated 49ers. Russ finishing 24 of 34, 232 yards, a touchdown, an interception, but most importantly, a win. He now has the edge over Lamar Jackson for MVP. Kenny, is Russ your MVP?
He's the MVP. Lamar Jackson is a close second right now, the way he's got his Baltimore Ravens playing. But, I mean, Russell Wilson, even though he made the mistake in overtime through in the red zone interception, he still found a way for his team to have an opportunity, that game-winning drive on their 3rd possession in the extra period. That ended up being the difference. He had a critical 18-yard scramble on a 3rd and 3 that set up that go-ahead field goal by Jason Myers. So, yeah, Russell Wilson has got to be the MVP right now.
He has to be the MVP, and it's no disrespect to Lamar or Deshaun or even Mahomes, whose numbers are off the charts. Dak Prescott saying, hey, what about me being involved in Aaron Rodgers? He's been this good. But Candy brought up a really interesting point before the show started, which is how hard it is to win MVP if you don't win your division.
Yep.
The last player to do it was a running back, Adrian Peterson. It's been 2012. It's been even longer since a quarterback. So it's not just Russell Wilson's play last night that helped his MVP case, but they're now still very alive to win that division, which is, if they win that division, he will be the MVP because of how brilliant he's going to have to be the final 6 weeks of the year. But up to this point, he's clearly the MVP.
All right, on to the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes returned from his dislocated kneecap to throw for over 400 yards and 3 touchdowns on Sunday. And according to reports, there were no issues for the reigning MVP in his return, unless you consider their loss an issue. And the fact that KC has dropped 4 of their last 6 an issue. Nick, do you have any real concerns for the 6-4 Chiefs at this point?
I certainly have more concerns about them than I did at the beginning of the year or than I did 5 weeks ago. Now, I have fewer concerns than I did going into that football game. And you might say, but they lost, and they lost in ugly, unforgivable fashion. They were 98% to win that game at one point.
Yeah, they found creative ways to lose that game.
100%. But the reason I'm a little more optimistic than I was before this weekend is the only path to a Super Bowl for the Chiefs is Patrick Mahomes being abled, Patrick Mahomes. And we saw that he is going to be that. That if he came out and was hobbled, or you could see...
Or limited at all.
Then this becomes a very average football team. So that's a relief if you're a Chiefs fan or a Chiefs supporter. The concern for Kansas City is not what their upside is. It's they continue to show that what their downside is. And by that I mean this, Kenny. I still believe the Chiefs can beat anybody. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. The Chiefs come out, if you had the defense that you saw against Minnesota, the offense that you see every week Mahomes is out there, that is as good as any team in football. But they have also shown you now, home or away, they can lose to just about anybody. Not that the Titans are a terrible team, but they're no great team. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. And they found a way to lose that game. So I wouldn't be shocked if Kansas City in round 2 of the playoffs goes into Foxborough and wins that football game. But also right now, could you be shocked if in round 1 of the playoffs, they're hosting a wild card Colts team and Marlon Mack runs for $185 and they go home there? So that's where my level of concern is, that the downside for this team is far greater than I thought it would be 10 weeks into the season.
Yeah, to me, that loss that they had in Tennessee almost assures that they won't have one of those top 2 seeds in the AFC.
Absolutely. Which
which means more than likely in round 2 in the divisional round, they're going on the road.
Yep.
And so that's the part of it that bothers me, just because their defense has been so inconsistent. I mean, they're relying on Pat Mahomes when he goes out there to be able to win a shootout. He's got to score 30-plus every single time for this team to have a chance. They've only got 2 wins this season where the team didn't score 30 points. In Pat Mahomes' 18 wins, they've only got 5 wins where they didn't score 30 points or more. So, to me, when you have to go out there and your quarterback has to do so much, that already puts you at a disadvantage, because you know once you get into the postseason, when teams become more game plan specific and there's more urgency because it's win or go home, you just don't have... It's hard to have to lean on your offense to be able to score so many points. You got to be able to line up and stop somebody, and I have serious questions about the Kansas City Chiefs' ability to do that against the better teams in the league. Now, we saw it against the Minnesota Vikings, so it's not like they haven't put it out there on tape, but it's too far and few between. So you need to see more consistency from that other side of the ball before I can trust them as a contender. So, yeah, they're asking Pat Mahomes to do a lot more than they should, and I think you saw a little bit of relax in that team overall, knowing that they were getting an MVP caliber quarterback back.
They also, though, have shown in the last 365 days, they've played 4 games against Baltimore and New England. They've beaten Baltimore twice. They've given Lamar half of his career losses. And in New England, I know they were 0-2, but anyone watching those games, particularly the AFC Championship game, knows Kansas City just as easily could have won that football game as New England did. They had it won, and then Dee Ford had lined up offside. So I think they can go into either one of those places, which Kenny's right. Because of that loss, they are now almost assured to have to go into one of those places and believe they can win. But they also could lose before they get there. Like, they could lose this weekend to the Chargers in Mexico City. I don't think they will, but they could. And the best teams in football, those head-scratching losses are a once-a-year aberration. For Kansas City, that hasn't been the case. That's what's the most disappointing thing about them through 10 weeks of the season.
All right, let's break there. Coming up, are the Lakers putting too much on Anthony Davis's shoulders, one of which is kind of bothering him a little bit? That's next on First Things First.
Call your daughter and apologize.